The crack of his palm against her face echoed through the bar like a gunshot. Maya Chen didn't flinch, didn't cry, didn't fall. She just stared at Lieutenant Brandon Cross with eyes so cold they could freeze hell itself. His buddies were laughing phones out, recording what they thought would be a viral moment of some tech girl getting put in her place. Then Maya reached into her jacket. The gold Trident gleamed under the neon lights. Navy SEAL. The laughter died. Brandon's face went white, and in that moment he realized he'd just made the worst mistake of his life. Before we dive into this story, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the end. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The Anchor Bar sat 3 blocks from Naval Base San Diego, close enough that sailors could stumble home drunk and still make morning muster. It was the kind of place where dreams went to drown and egos went to inflate. The walls were covered in Navy memorabilia, flags from decommissioned ships, photographs of carrier groups, a genuine ship's wheel mounted above the bar. The jukebox played Lynyrd Skynyrd. It always played Lynyrd Skynyrd. Maya Chen pushed through the heavy door at exactly 2100 hours. She'd chosen her outfit carefully: oversized San Diego State hoodie, faded jeans, white, Converse sneakers worn at the toes. Her dark hair hung loose around her shoulders. No makeup, wire-rimmed glasses that she didn't actually need. She looked exactly like what her cover said. She was a 23-year-old software contractor doing database management for the Navy's logistics system. Forgettable, harmless, invisible. She wasn't any of those things. Maya ordered a Coke at the bar and found a seat in the corner where she could see both exits and the bathroom hallway. Her hands wrapped around the cold glass, but her eyes were moving constantly, cataloging faces, measuring distances, identifying threats. The bartender, Tommy, was retired Navy, walked with a limp from an IED in Fallujah. 2 enlisted guys at the pool table, surface warfare, probably from the destroyer that just pulled in. A group of civilians near the window, defense contractors, loud and expensive. And then there was Brandon Cross's table. He sat in the center booth like a king holding court, surrounded by 5 other pilots. Maya had memorized all their files. Lieutenant Brandon Apex Cross, 28, FA-18, Super Hornet pilot, 247 carrier landings, son of Senator Richard Cross, heir to a political dynasty that stretched back 3 generations. 6'1" athletic build, maintained by personal trainers and performance coaches, jaw sharp enough to cut glass eyes blue enough to drown in. He knew he was beautiful. He'd weaponized it. To his left sat Lieutenant Jake Siren Morrison, his wingman, darker-skinned, quieter, but just as dangerous. To his right, Lieutenant Commander Aaron Priest Walsh, the oldest of the group at 33, married with 2 kids he never talked about. The others were younger, louder still, trying to prove themselves. Lieutenants Marcus Torch Bennett, David Nitro Kim, and the baby of the group, 24-year-old Ensign Kyle Rookie Patterson, who laughed too hard at every joke and drank too fast to keep up. They were celebrating. Maya knew why. Cross had just completed his 500th carrier landing that morning. The squadron commander had made a speech. There'd been cake in the ready room. Cross had smiled and been humble and said all the right things. But here in the Anchor Bar, with enough alcohol in him to strip away the polish, he was showing his true face. "I'm telling you," Cross said, his voice carrying across the bar, "the problem with the Navy now is they've gone soft. Too worried about feelings, about inclusion, about making sure nobody gets their precious feelings hurt." He took a long pull from his beer. "My old man, he flew Tomcats in Desert Storm. You know what his CO told him on his first day? If you can't handle the heat, get the hell out of my cockpit. None of this sensitivity training bullshit." Morrison nodded, but his eyes had drifted toward the bar, toward Maya. "Hey, Apex, you see her?" Cross followed his gaze. Maya felt his attention like a physical weight, but she didn't look up. She sipped her Coke and pretended to scroll through her phone. "Contractor," Cross said, loading the word with contempt. "Probably makes twice what we make to push buttons on a keyboard." "She's cute, though," Rookie said. "In like a college girl kind of way." Cross's eyes narrowed. Maya could feel him calculating that predator's instinct sensing prey. Watch this. He stood, and the alcohol made his movements just slightly off that liquid confidence that feels like grace until you try to walk a straight line. He crossed the bar with his squadron, watching phones already coming out of pockets because whatever happened next, they'd want it documented. Maya saw him coming in her peripheral vision. She'd been expecting this. The whole reason she was here sitting in this bar pretending to be someone she wasn't was because Brandon Cross couldn't resist an audience and an opportunity to prove his dominance. He stopped beside her stool close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive, sophisticated, the kind that cost more than most sailors made in a week. "You look lonely." Maya glanced up, made her eyes wide and nervous. "I'm fine, thank you." "Come on, don't be like that." He leaned against the bar, his shoulder blocking her view of the room, a classic intimidation tactic. "What's your name?" "Maya." "Maya." He said it slowly, tasting it. "Pretty name." "I'm Brandon. I'm a pilot. FA-18s. You know what those are?" "Fighter jets," she said quietly, playing the part. The shy civilian girl who should be impressed. "The best fighter jets." He grinned, showing perfect white teeth. "I just hit my 500th carrier landing today. You know how hard that is. How much skill that takes." "It sounds very difficult." "It is. Most people wash out, can't handle the pressure, the danger. Every time you trap on a carrier deck, you're trusting your life to 4 wires stretched across metal. One mistake and you end up in the ocean." He moved closer. "So, what do you do, Maya?" "Let me guess. Admin, HR, database management." He laughed. "Of course you are. Sitting in an air-conditioned office clicking buttons while guys like me are actually defending this country." Maya's jaw tightened slightly, the first crack in her performance. "Your service is appreciated." "Appreciated." Cross's smile turned cold. "That's what people say when they don't actually understand what we do. You ever been in a combat zone, Maya?" "No." "Ever had someone shoot at you? Ever pulled 7 Gs in a turn so tight you could feel your blood trying to escape your body? Ever landed on a pitching deck in a storm where one wrong move means you die screaming? I haven't." "Then you don't get to appreciate anything." He was closer now, invading her space deliberately. "You get to say thank you, sir, and mean it." Maya set her coke down carefully. "Thank you for your service. Now please step back." The politeness in her tone was glacial, that careful control of someone used to commanding respect without raising their voice. But Cross was too drunk and too used to getting his way to hear the warning. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. "Don't dismiss me." Every person in the bar was watching now. The pool game had stopped, the jukebox finished Simple Man, and nobody moved to play another song. Even Tommy behind the bar had stopped washing glasses. Maya looked down at Cross's hand on her wrist, then up at his face. Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Let go." "Or what?" Cross pulled her closer, his face inches from hers. "What are you going to do?" "Database. Girl file a complaint. Write a bad Yelp review." His squadron was laughing now. Rookie had his phone up recording. Morrison looked uncomfortable but didn't intervene. Priest was shaking his head but staying silent. "Last warning," Maya said. Cross's face darkened. The alcohol in the audience and the lifetime of never facing real consequences all mixed together into something ugly and dangerous. "You know what your problem is? Girls like you. You come out here to military towns. You make good money off our sacrifice. And you think that makes you special. You think that makes you tough." He leaned in close enough that Maya could see the rage in his eyes. "You're nothing but a..." The word he used was the kind that ended careers, the kind that revealed character completely. And then his hand flashed out and struck her across the face. The sound cracked through the bar like thunder. Maya's head snapped to the side. Her glasses flew off and clattered across the floor. Cross's squadron erupted in shock, some laughing nervously, others going silent. Rookie's phone still recording every second. But Maya didn't fall, didn't cry, didn't even raise her hand to touch her reddening cheek. She just turned back to look at Brandon Cross with eyes so cold and empty they should have been warning enough. Slowly, deliberately, she reached into her hoodie's inner pocket. Her fingers emerged holding a leather wallet. She flipped it open. The identification card inside caught the light. Gold Trident gleaming. Navy SEAL insignia unmistakable. Name Chen Maya. Rank Petty Officer First Class. Classification Special Warfare Operator. The bar went silent. The kind of silence that feels like the world holding its breath. Cross's face drained of blood. His hands still raised from the strike began to tremble. "That's not, you can't be, Petty Officer. First Class Maya Chen," she said quietly. "Bud's Class 348. Hell Week completion time 4 days, 23 hours, 14 minutes. Graduation rank first in class." Morrison stood up from the booth. "Holy shit." "You hit a Navy SEAL," Priest said, his voice hollow with disbelief. Cross stumbled backward. This is some kind of joke. Women can't what?" Maya stood up from her stool. She was 5'4" to his 6'1", but in that moment she seemed 10 feet tall. "Can't complete the hardest military training in the world, can't earn the Trident, can't be SEALs." She stepped forward. Cross stepped back. 3 women have graduated from Bud's training since it opened to females. I was the second. I graduated top of my class. I've completed 17 classified missions across 4 combat zones. I speak 3 languages. I'm qualified as a sniper, a medic, and an explosives expert. I hold a black belt in Krav Maga and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And you, she pointed at him, you just committed felony assault on a federal officer while being recorded on camera. Rookie's phone was still up, still recording. His hand shook so badly the image probably wouldn't be usable, but the audio would be crystal clear. Cross looked around wildly, seeing his career, his future, his father's political ambitions all crumbling in real time. "I didn't know. You didn't know I was a SEAL, but you knew I was a woman. You knew I asked you to stop. You knew I told you to let go." Maya's voice was steady, relentless. "You hit me because you thought I was weak. You thought I was helpless. You thought you could get away with it. We were just... Cross couldn't finish a sentence. His squadron was backing away from him like he was radioactive. The door to the bar swung open. Tommy had made a call. 2 shore patrol officers entered, Master-at-Arms First Class Rodriguez and Second Class Jenkins. They took one look at the scene, Cross standing in the middle of the bar, face white with shock. Maya Chen with her SEAL ID still held up, every other patron watching in stunned silence, and Rodriguez sighed deeply. "Lieutenant Cross," he said tiredly, "put your hands behind your back." "No, wait." Cross started to protest, but Jenkins was already moving, pulling out handcuffs with practiced efficiency. "You have the right to remain silent." Rodriguez began launching into the familiar Miranda warning. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Maya watched them cuff Brandon Cross and lead him toward the door. He was crying now, the reality of what he'd done finally penetrating the alcohol haze. "My father will fix this," he said desperately. "Senator Cross, he'll make calls, this will go away." "Your father," Maya said quietly, stopping him in his tracks, "is part of the reason I'm here." Cross turned to stare at her. In the doorway, Rodriguez and Jenkins exchanged glances. Morrison, still standing by the booth, went very still. "What are you talking about?" Cross whispered. Maya picked up her glasses from the floor, inspected them for damage, and put them back on. The shy contractor was completely gone now, replaced by something harder, sharper, infinitely more dangerous. "This wasn't random, Lieutenant. This was never about you hitting on a girl in a bar." She reached into her pocket again and pulled out a different ID, this one showing a badge. Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Special Agent. The bar's silence somehow deepened, becoming almost supernatural. "For the past 6 months," Maya said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room, "NCIS has been investigating a human trafficking ring operating out of Southern California with connections to military personnel. Young women, mostly immigrants, promised jobs on military bases. Instead, they're being exploited, abused, and moved through a network that spans 3 states. Cross's face wasn't white anymore. It was gray, the color of someone having a heart attack. We've identified 17 military personnel involved in this network. Officers and enlisted. Navy, Marines, Air Force. They think their positions protect them. They think their connections make them untouchable. Maya stepped closer to Cross. Your father's Chief of Staff, Marcus Brennan, he's been taking payments from the organization running this operation, laundering money through campaign contributions, and you, Lieutenant Brandon Cross, you've been helping them move victims. That's a lie, Cross shouted. I don't know anything about the Mariposa Club in Tijuana, Maya said. You've been there 7 times in the past 4 months. We have photos. We have videos. We have financial records showing payments from the club's owner to an account registered in your name. Morrison's voice was weak. Brandon, what the hell? I went there for drinks. Cross was panicking now, struggling against the handcuffs. That's it. Just drinks with some of the guys I didn't know. You didn't know that the private VIP rooms upstairs were where they kept the girls. Maya's voice could have cut steel. You didn't know that your friend Marcus Brennan was using your father's office to provide cover and protection. You didn't know that every time you flashed your military ID at that club, you were helping convince those women that they couldn't escape, couldn't get help because the American military was in on it. The door opened again. This time it was Commander Sarah Reeves, 45, hard-faced, wearing her service dress blues. She looked at Maya and nodded once. Agent Chen. Status. Subject took the bait. Commander. Assaulted me on camera with multiple witnesses. He also made verbal statements that will support the larger investigation. Reeves looked at Cross with the kind of cold disgust usually reserved for things found under rocks. Lieutenant Cross. You are hereby placed under arrest for assault on a federal officer, conspiracy to commit human trafficking, and obstruction of justice. The full list of charges will be provided to you at processing. Cross's legs gave out. Jenkins and Rodriguez had to hold him up. My father, he started. Your father, Reeves said, is currently being questioned by FBI agents at his Washington office, as is his chief of staff, his campaign manager, and 12 other members of his staff. This investigation has been ongoing for 8 months, Lieutenant. Did you really think we wouldn't notice the money, the patterns, the protection you were all providing? She gestured to Rodriguez. Get him out of here. Process him at base and transfer him to federal custody. They dragged Cross toward the door. He was screaming now, all pretense of dignity gone. You set me up. You planned this. This is entrapment. Maya's voice followed him out. I didn't make you hit me, Lieutenant. I just gave you the opportunity to show everyone who you really are. The door closed behind them. The bar stayed silent for another long moment. Then Morrison stepped forward, his face gray. The rest of us, we didn't know. I swear we didn't know what Brandon was involved in. Reeves looked at him coldly. That's what the interviews will determine. All of you consider yourselves on restriction pending investigation. Any attempt to leave base or contact Cross or his family will be considered obstruction. She pointed at Rookie, who still had his phone up. Give me that phone. Ma'am. Now, Ensign. Rookie handed it over, looking like he might throw up. Reeves checked the video, nodded, and gave the phone to Maya. Evidence. Maya pocketed it. Her cheek was swelling now, a dark bruise forming where Cross had struck her. It would look worse tomorrow. Good. The prosecutors would want photographs. Reeves turned to address the entire bar. What you witnessed here tonight is part of an ongoing federal investigation. You will all be contacted for statements. Anyone who discusses this outside of official interviews will face obstruction charges. Am I clear? Murmurs of assent rippled through the room. Good. This bar is now a crime scene. Everyone stay put. NCIS agents are en route to take statements. Reeves looked at Maya. Agent Chen, you need medical attention. I'm fine, Commander. That wasn't a request. You're going to the hospital, getting examined, getting photographs taken, and filing a complete report. By the book. Maya wanted to argue, but Reeves was right. Everything had to be perfect for the prosecution. No shortcuts. No mistakes. Yes, ma'am. Reeves lowered her voice so only Maya could hear. You did good work tonight. I know that wasn't easy. It was necessary. Sometimes the things that are necessary are the hardest things we do. Reeves squeezed her shoulder briefly, a rare gesture of warmth. Your father would be proud. Maya's throat tightened. She didn't trust herself to speak, so she just nodded. The door opened again, and 3 NCIS agents entered, already pulling out notebooks and cameras. Tommy turned up the lights, making the bar feel harsh and exposed. The magic of the evening, if there had ever been any, was completely gone now. Morrison approached Maya carefully, hands visible, non-threatening. I really didn't know, he said quietly, about any of it. Brandon and I, we've been friends since flight school, and I never... He stopped, shook his head. That's not an excuse. I should have seen something. Should have asked questions. Should have stopped him from hitting me, Maya said flatly. Morrison flinched. Yeah, that too. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't help those girls. Sorry doesn't give them their lives back. I know. He looked down at his hands. For what it's worth, I'll testify, whatever you need. If I saw anything, heard anything, I'll tell the truth. Maya studied him for a long moment. In her experience, there were 2 types of people who enabled predators, those who were actively complicit and those who were too cowardly to intervene. Morrison seemed like the latter. Not evil, just weak. We'll see if you mean that. She walked to the bar where Tommy was giving his statement to an agent. Her Coke was still there, ice-melted condensation pooling on the wooden surface. She'd been Maya Chen database contractor for exactly 43 minutes before the mission required her to become someone else. She wondered if she'd ever get to just be Maya. Not an operator, not an agent, not a walking weapon. Just a 23-year-old woman who could sit in a bar without cataloging exits and identifying threats. Probably not. Not in this lifetime. Tommy caught her eye. You want another Coke? Despite everything, Maya smiled. Yeah, I do. He poured her a fresh one, no ice this time, and slid it across the bar. On the house, for what you did tonight. I haven't done anything yet, Tommy. This was just the opening move. Then I can't wait to see what comes next. Neither could Maya. Because Brandon Cross was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. His father, Senator Richard Cross, was the real target. And taking down a United States senator with presidential ambitions required more than catching his son in a bar fight. It required evidence. Testimony. A case so airtight that no lawyer, no political connection, no amount of money could make it disappear. Maya touched her swelling cheek and smiled grimly. She'd just given them the beginning. Now came the hard part. Across the bar, Priest was being interviewed by an NCIS agent, his face buried in his hands. Nitro and Torch sat in silence, the reality of their friend's crimes slowly sinking in. Rookie was crying quietly, his promising career probably over before it really started. And somewhere in a holding cell at the base, Brandon Cross was learning what it felt like to be powerless, to be trapped, to realize that no amount of charm or connections or family money could save him from the consequences of his choices. Maya knew that feeling intimately. She'd spent her entire life fighting against people who thought they were untouchable. Men who thought that strength meant dominance. Officers who thought rank meant they could do whatever they wanted. Her father had taught her different. Commander James Chen, Navy SEAL, killed in action in Afghanistan when Maya was 12 years old. He'd taught her that real strength was protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Real courage was standing up when it cost you something. Real honor was doing the right thing even when no one was watching. She touched the bracelet on her wrist, a simple silver band, engraved with her father's name and dates. She never took it off. It reminded her why she'd fought so hard to become a SEAL, why she'd endured Bud's Hell Week, the instructors who told her she didn't belong, the classmates who resented her presence, the endless physical and mental torture designed to break anyone who wasn't absolutely committed. She'd done it for him. And for every girl who'd been told she wasn't strong enough, wasn't tough enough, wasn't good enough. Tonight she'd proven them all wrong. Again. Commander Reeves appeared at her shoulder. Medical examiner is here. Time to go. Maya drained her Coke and stood. Her body was starting to hurt now, adrenaline wearing off, the impact of Cross's strike making itself known. Tomorrow would be worse. But she'd had worse before. As she walked toward the door, the bar full of sailors watched her go. Some with respect, some with confusion. Some with the dawning realization that they'd just witnessed something significant. And in a holding cell somewhere, Brandon Cross was having the worst night of his life. It was only going to get worse from here, for him and everyone who'd helped him. Maya Chen was just getting started. The Naval Hospital exam room smelled like antiseptic and fluorescent lighting. Maya sat on the paper-covered table while a Navy corpsman photographed her face from 6 different angles, the camera flash making her wince each time. Her cheek had swollen to the size of a tennis ball, the bruise spreading from purple to deep crimson. "That's going to look worse before it looks better," the corpsman said. His name tag read Patterson. No relation to Rookie, thank God. "You want something for the pain?" "No." "Ma'am, I really think—" I said no. Maya's voice was flat. She needed to feel this. Needed to remember exactly what Brandon Cross had done, so when his lawyers tried to minimize it, tried to call it a misunderstanding or a drunken mistake, she could look them in the eye and know the truth. Patterson nodded and made notes on his tablet. "Any dizziness, nausea, blurred vision?" "No." "Ringing in your ears?" "No." "Okay, I'm going to recommend a CT scan just to rule out any internal—" The door opened. Commander Reeves entered, followed by a man Maya had never seen before. Late 50s gray hair, cut military short, wearing an expensive suit that screamed federal agent. He had the kind of face that had seen too much and forgiven too little. "Agent Chen," Reeves said. "This is Special Agent Marcus Webb, FBI." Webb extended his hand. Maya shook it, feeling the calluses of someone who still hit the range regularly despite his desk job. "Petty Officer Chen, hell of a night you've had." "It's not over yet." "No, it's not." Webb pulled out a chair and sat backward on it, arms crossed over the back. Patterson took the hint and left, closing the door behind him. "Commander Reeves tells me you've been working this case for 6 months. 7, actually. The first month was just establishing my cover. Database contractor." Webb smiled without humor. That must have been thrilling. "It was necessary." Maya shifted on the table, the paper crinkling beneath her. "Nobody pays attention to the IT person. I had access to personnel records, travel logs, financial data. I could track patterns without raising suspicion." Reeves leaned against the wall. "Show him." Maya pulled out her phone, unlocked it with her thumbprint, and opened a secure folder. She handed the phone to Webb. 17 military personnel, 12 civilians, all connected to the Mariposa Club in Tijuana. The club is owned by a shell corporation registered in the Cayman Islands, but the real owner is Victor Salazar. Webb scrolled through the files, his expression darkening with each image. "Jesus Christ, you've got service records, bank statements, surveillance photos. How did you get all this?" "The database access was legitimate. The rest—" Maya shrugged. "Let's just say I'm very good at my job." "You broke into secure systems." "I accessed information relevant to an ongoing investigation." Webb looked at Reeves. "Is she always this difficult?" "Only when she's right," Reeves said. "Which is always." Webb handed the phone back. "Okay, Agent Chen, walk me through it. From the beginning." Maya took a breath. This was the part she'd been preparing for, the moment when everything she'd built for 7 months either held together or collapsed. It started with a missing person report. Maria Gonzalez, 19, Mexican national with a work visa. She was employed as a janitor at Naval Base San Diego. One day she didn't show up for work, didn't call in, didn't answer her phone. "People skip out on jobs all the time," Webb said. Her supervisor thought the same thing. But Maria had a daughter 3 years old being cared for by Maria's mother in Chula Vista. Maria called her daughter every single night at 8 p.m. She hadn't missed a call in 14 months. Webb's eyes sharpened. Until she did. Until she did. Her mother filed a missing person report with San Diego PD. They found her apartment cleaned out, rent paid through the end of the month, no signs of struggle. They closed it as a voluntary departure. Maya's voice hardened. They didn't look deeper because she was Mexican, because she was poor, because she didn't matter. But you looked deeper. I couldn't stop thinking about that little girl waiting for her mother's phone call. So I pulled Maria's personnel file, her references, her background check, her hiring paperwork. Everything pointed to the Mariposa Club. That's where she'd worked before getting the base job. The club owner, someone named Miguel Reyes, had written her a glowing recommendation letter. Let me guess. Webb said. Miguel Reyes doesn't exist. He exists, but he's not who he claimed to be. Miguel Reyes is an alias for Marcus Brennan, Senator Cross's chief of staff. Webb sat up straighter. Say that again. Marcus Brennan has been using multiple identities to recruit vulnerable women, promise them legitimate jobs, and then funnel them into the trafficking network. The Mariposa Club is just the front. The real operation happens in safe houses across Southern California, San Diego, Oceanside, Riverside. We've identified at least 7 locations. Reeves pushed off from the wall. Show him the connection to Cross. Maya swiped through her phone until she found the file she needed. Brandon Cross started visiting the Mariposa Club 8 months ago. At first, it looked like regular partying, but then the pattern emerged. Every time Cross visited within 72 hours, money would move through his accounts. Small amounts, $500 to $2,000, always in cash deposits that stayed just under the reporting threshold. He was being paid, Webb said. He was being paid to use his military credentials to transport women. His access to Naval Air Station North Island meant he could move people through secure areas without additional screening. We have evidence he flew at least 6 women from San Diego to a private airfield near Riverside using military training flights as cover. Webb was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was tight with controlled rage. How many women total? That we know of 43, but Salazar's operation has been running for at least 3 years. The real number is probably over 100. The room went silent. Somewhere down the hall, a doctor was being paged. A gurney rolled past. Normal hospital sounds in a conversation about horrors that shouldn't exist in a civilized country. Webb stood and walked to the window, looking out at the dark parking lot. Senator Cross is on the Armed Services Committee. He's been positioning himself for a presidential run in 2028. If this comes out, when this comes out, Maya corrected. Not if, when. Webb turned to face her. You understand what you're walking into here. The Cross family has connections that go back generations. Old money, political dynasties, friends in every level of government. They will come after you with everything they have. They'll destroy your career. They'll destroy your reputation. They'll dig into every moment of your life looking for leverage. Maya met his eyes without flinching. Let them try. This isn't bravado. I'm talking about Agent Chen. I'm talking about your life being turned inside out. Every relationship scrutinized, every decision questioned. They'll paint you as a rogue agent with an agenda. They'll claim you fabricated evidence. They'll make you the villain. I don't care. You should care. Webb's voice rose for the first time. I've seen this before. I've watched good agents, good people get torn apart by machines like the Cross family. They're still picking up the pieces. Maya slid off the examination table, standing to her full 5'4". Agent Webb, when I was 12 years old, my father deployed to Afghanistan. Navy SEAL Team 6, doing the kind of missions that don't make the news. He called me every week, every single week for 7 months. And then one week, the call didn't come. Her voice remained steady, but something in her eyes made Webb step back. 2 officers in dress blues showed up at our door. My mother opened it and she knew. She knew before they said a word. They told us my father died in a training accident. That was the official story. The truth was, he was killed during a raid on a Taliban compound. They killed him and mutilated his body and left it as a warning. Reeves looked away, but Maya kept talking. You know what else I learned? 3 weeks before my father died, he'd filed a report about a contractor he suspected was selling intelligence to the Taliban. The contractor's uncle was a deputy secretary of defense. My father's report disappeared. The contractor kept his security clearance, and my father died in an operation that felt too much like an ambush. Maya, Reeves started, but Maya cut her off. I spent the last 11 years becoming someone my father would be proud of. I completed Bud's training, earned my Trident, and watched men half as qualified get promoted over me because I don't fit their idea of what a warrior looks like. I've bled for this country. I've killed for it. I've sacrificed everything. She stepped closer to Webb. So when you ask me if I understand what I'm walking into, the answer is yes. I understand perfectly. and I'm doing it anyway. Webb stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. Okay, Agent Chen. Tell me what you need. The door burst open. A young FBI agent, barely old enough to shave, practically fell into the room. Sir Senator Cross just issued a statement. Webb grabbed the tablet the agent thrust at him. His face darkened as he read. Son of a bitch. What? Reeves demanded. Webb handed her the tablet. She read aloud, her voice dripping with disgust. Earlier this evening, my son was involved in an altercation at a civilian establishment. While I don't condone his actions, I believe context is important. My son has served his country honorably for 6 years, completing hundreds of combat missions and putting his life on the line. Tonight, he was approached by someone claiming to be a federal agent who deliberately provoked him as part of what appears to be a politically motivated investigation into my office. This is a clear case of entrapment, and I will be filing complaints with the Department of Defense and the FBI regarding the questionable tactics used. My son is a victim here, and I will fight to ensure he receives fair treatment. Maya's laugh was bitter and sharp. He's actually doing it. He's actually trying to play the victim card. It's a smart move, Webb admitted. Get ahead of the story frame. The narrative make you the aggressor. By tomorrow morning, Fox News and Newsmax will be running with female SEAL Entrap's war hero as their headline. So we fight back, Maya said. We release the evidence, the photos, the financial records, the testimony from... We can't. Webb's voice was flat. Not yet. If we show our hand now, they'll have time to destroy evidence. Intimidate witnesses, build their defense. We need everything locked down before we go public. How long? 2 weeks, maybe 3. People are dying. Maya's control finally cracked. Right now, tonight, there are women locked in safe houses being raped and beaten and sold like livestock, and you want me to wait 2 weeks so we can build a better case? Webb's voice was steel. I want you to wait 2 weeks so we can actually convict these bastards instead of watching them walk on technicalities. I want you to wait so every piece of evidence is admissible in court. I want you to wait so when we move, we take down the entire network, not just the visible pieces. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to hit something. But he was right. She knew he was right. She'd spent 7 months building this case. Rushing now would waste everything. Fine, she said through gritted teeth. 2 weeks. In the meantime, you're going to be under incredible scrutiny. Senator Cross's team will be digging into your background, looking for anything they can use. You need to be perfect. Not a single misstep. I'm always perfect. Cocky, Webb said, but there was approval in his voice. I like that. Just make sure you can back it up. The young FBI agent cleared his throat nervously. Sir, there's more. Senator Cross has hired Gordon Hastings as his son's defense attorney. Reeves swore. Maya recognized the name. Gordon Hastings, 63, legendary defense attorney, had gotten 3 separate congressmen acquitted on corruption charges, convinced a jury that a CEO's insider trading was just aggressive business strategy, and once argued that his client couldn't be guilty of tax fraud because the tax code was too complex for normal people to understand. He had a 92% acquittal rate and charged $1,500 an hour. Hastings doesn't take cases unless he thinks he can win, Reeves said. Or unless he's being paid enough, Webb countered. But you're right, this just got a lot more complicated. Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and felt her blood run cold. We have a bigger problem. She showed them the message. It was from an unknown number, just 3 words, we know, Maria. Webb grabbed her phone. Who sent this? I don't know, but if they know about Maria Gonzalez, they know you've been investigating. Reeves finished. They know what you're after. Maya's mind raced through possibilities. The only people who know I was looking into Maria's disappearance are you, the NCIS team, and... She stopped. Oh God. What? I pulled Maria's file through the base system. Standard background check, completely legitimate. But if someone was monitoring database access, if someone was flagging searches related to the Mariposa Club, they've known you were investigating for months, Webb said grimly, which means tonight wasn't about you catching Brandon Cross. It was about him catching you. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Brandon Cross showing up at the Anchor bar the same night Maya was there. Him approaching her specifically. The entire confrontation playing out like a script. It was a setup. They wanted me to reveal myself. Wanted me on record as a federal agent so they could claim entrapment. And you gave them exactly what they wanted, Reeves said. There was no accusation in her voice, just statement of fact. Maya's phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Check your email. She opened her email with shaking hands. The message had no subject line, no text in the body, just an attachment, a video file. Don't open that, Webb warned. It could be malware, could be... Maya opened it. The video showed a woman early 20s tied to a chair in a concrete room. She'd been beaten, her face swollen and bloody. She was crying, pleading in Spanish. Por favor, no me hagan daño. Tengo una hija. Por favor. Please don't hurt me. I have a daughter. Please. The camera panned to show a man standing behind her face obscured by shadows. His voice was distorted electronic. Agent Chen, you've been very busy, very nosy, very stupid. The man placed a hand on the woman's shoulder. She flinched and sobbed harder. You want to play hero. You want to save these women. Then let's play a game. You have 48 hours to drop your investigation. Delete your files. Destroy your evidence. Convince your FBI friends that this was all a mistake. He pulled out a knife, long and sharp and cruel. The woman screamed. If you don't, we start sending you pieces of Maria Gonzalez. We'll start with fingers, then toes. Then we'll get creative. The video cut to black. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All she could see was that woman's face, that knife, that promise of torture and death. Webb grabbed her shoulders. Agent Chen. Maya, look at me. She forced her eyes to focus on his face. This is what they do, Webb said. They terrorize. They threaten. They try to make you so scared that you give up. But you can't give up, because if you do that, woman dies. All those women die, and the Cross family wins. But if I don't, if I keep investigating, they'll kill her anyway. Maybe, probably. But if you stop now, they definitely kill her. At least this way she has a chance. Maya pulled away from him. A chance. You call this a chance? They're going to cut her into pieces, and it's my fault. I led them to her. You didn't do this. Reeves's voice cracked like a whip. Victor Salazar did this. Marcus Brennan did this. The Cross family did this. You're trying to stop them. Don't you dare take responsibility for their evil. But Maya was drowning in guilt and rage and horror. That woman's face. Maria Gonzalez. 43 women, maybe more than 100, all suffering because people like Brandon Cross thought they were untouchable. Her phone buzzed a third time. 48 hours. Tick-tock. Webb was already on his own phone barking orders. I need a trace on these messages. I need tech services running the video for metadata, and I need every agent we have on the Mariposa Club and associated properties now. And get me someone from cyber crimes. They won't find anything, Maya said dully. These people are professionals. They've been doing this for years. They're not going to make mistakes. Then we'll have to be smarter than them. How? Maya looked at him, this FBI agent who talked about strategy and evidence and building cases, and she wanted to scream. How do we be smarter when they're always 3 steps ahead? They knew I was investigating. They set me up tonight. They've probably already destroyed half the evidence I collected. They have Maria Gonzalez and God knows how many other women, and we're sitting here talking about waiting 2 weeks. Webb met her eyes. You want to know how we win? We give them what they want. What? You heard me. We give them what they want. You go on record tomorrow saying you're dropping the investigation. You apologize for the entrapment. You admit you made mistakes. You back off completely. Maya stared at him like he'd grown a second head. You want me to surrender. I want you to make them think you're surrendering. Make them comfortable. Make them careless. And while they're celebrating their victory, we move in and tear their whole operation apart. That's insane. That's tactics. Webb's smile was cold and sharp. You're a SEAL, Agent Chen. You understand deception operations. Sometimes the best way to win is to make your enemy think they've already won. Reeves was nodding slowly. It could work. If we play it right, if we make it convincing enough, they'll start making mistakes, getting sloppy. Victor Salazar will think he's safe. And what about Maria? Maya demanded. What about the woman in that video? What hope they don't kill her while we're playing mind games? We find her, Webb said simply. We have 48 hours, so we use every second. We analyze that video for location clues. We put surveillance on every property connected to the Mariposa Club. We track every vehicle, every phone call, every credit card transaction, and we find her before the deadline. And if we don't, Webb's face was grim. Then we pray that our deception is good enough to buy us more time. Maya looked down at her phone at that frozen image of Maria Gonzalez tied to a chair, beaten and terrified. She thought about that little girl waiting for her mother's phone call. She thought about 43 women whose names she'd memorized, whose faces haunted her dreams. She thought about her father, Commander James Chen, who'd filed a report about corruption and died for it. And she made her choice. Okay, she said. We do it your way. I'll play the broken agent who screwed up. I'll apologize, grovel, whatever it takes. But I swear on my father's grave, if anything happens to Maria because of this plan, I'm holding you personally responsible. Webb nodded. Fair enough. I'll accept that. Good. Maya stood, ignoring the pain in her face, the exhaustion in her bones, the fear eating at her stomach. Then let's get to work. We've got 48 hours to save a woman's life and take down a senator. I suggest we stop wasting time. As they left the examination room, Maya caught her reflection in the window. Her face was a mess, bruised and swollen. She looked like she'd lost a fight. Perfect. Tomorrow, she'd go on camera and convince the world she'd given up. She'd let Brandon Cross and his father think they'd won. She'd make them believe she was broken, and then she'd destroy them all. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. Maya woke at 5, ran 8 miles in the dark, and spent an hour in the base gym hitting the heavy bag until her knuckles bled through the tape. The physical pain helped drown out everything else. The fear, the doubt, the voice in her head screaming that she was making a mistake. She showered dressed in civilian clothes, jeans, plain blue blouse, no makeup to cover the bruise. They needed to see it. Needed to see the damage Brandon Cross had done. She pulled her hair back in a simple ponytail and looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back. Commander Reeves knocked once and entered without waiting. You ready for this? No. Good. If you were ready, I'd worry you were taking it too lightly. Reeves handed her a cup of coffee. Webb's team has been working all night. They traced the video message to a server in Bulgaria, which means they're using VPN routing. Dead end. Maya's hands tightened around the coffee cup. And Maria? Nothing yet, but they're analyzing the video frame by frame. The concrete walls, the type of chair, the ambient sound. We'll find something. We have 42 hours left. I know. Reeves sat down beside her. Maya, what you're about to do, it's going to be hard. People are going to believe you actually failed. They're going to think you're weak, that you couldn't handle the pressure. Let them think it. Your SEAL brothers, the ones who fought alongside you in training, they're going to see you apologize on national television. Some of them won't understand. Some of them will lose respect for you. Maya met her eyes. Commander, with all due respect, I don't give a damn about their respect. I care about saving Maria Gonzalez. That's it. That's all that matters. Reeves smiled sadly. Your father used to say the same thing. Mission first, ego last. The mention of her father hit harder than Maya expected. She had to look away, blinking back sudden tears. Did you know him well? We served together, briefly. Afghanistan 2012. I was a lieutenant then, just trying to prove I belonged. Your father, he never questioned it, never treated me like I had to earn my place. He just assumed I was capable until proven otherwise. Reeves's voice was soft with memory. That's rare, especially back then. He was a good man. He was the best. Reeves stood. Which is why I know he'd be proud of you right now. What you're doing takes more courage than any firefight. You're sacrificing your reputation to save lives. That's what real warriors do. Maya wanted to believe that, Needed to believe that. Let's just hope it works. The conference room at Naval Base San Diego was packed with reporters. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, local stations, print journalists, bloggers. Webb had made sure everyone got the invitation. Maximum exposure, maximum humiliation. Gordon Hastings stood near the front, perfectly groomed in a $5,000 suit, his silver hair styled like a news anchor. He was smiling that predator's smile that said he'd already won. Beside him sat Senator Richard Cross himself, looking appropriately concerned and dignified. Brandon Cross wasn't present, still in custody, but his father's presence sent a clear message. The Cross family wasn't hiding. Maya entered through a side door. The cameras swiveled toward her like weapons locking on target. Flashes exploded. Questions shouted over each other. Agent Chen, did you deliberately provoke Lieutenant Cross? Is it true you falsified evidence? Are you being investigated for misconduct? Webb stood at the podium, raising his hands for silence. Please, everyone. Agent Chen will make a brief statement and take no questions. This is a courtesy, not a trial. Maya stepped up to the podium. The microphones were like a forest of accusing fingers. She gripped the edges of the podium to hide her shaking hands and looked directly at the cameras. My name is Maya Chen. I'm a petty officer first class in the United States Navy and a special agent with NCIS. Last night, I was involved in an incident at a civilian bar that resulted in the arrest of Lieutenant Brandon Cross. Her voice was steady, carefully modulated, weak, uncertain, everything she wasn't. I want to address the allegations that have been made regarding my conduct. She paused, let the silence build. Hastings was leaning forward, slightly eager. Lieutenant Cross's attorney has claimed that I engaged in entrapment, that I deliberately provoked his client as part of a politically motivated investigation, and after reviewing the events of last night. She stopped, swallowed hard, let her voice crack slightly. I have to admit, there may be some truth to those allegations. The room erupted, reporters shouting, cameras flashing. Webb stood stoic beside her, playing his part perfectly. He looked disappointed, angry, betrayed. Maya raised her voice. Please let me finish. The noise subsided. I have been investigating allegations of impropriety connected to the Mariposa Club in Tijuana. During that investigation, I became aware of Lieutenant Cross's association with the establishment. However, another pause. This was the crucial moment. I now believe I allowed my personal feelings about military privilege and my experiences as a female SEAL to cloud my judgment. Senator Cross nodded gravely, as if this was exactly what he'd expected. Hastings' smile widened. I approached Lieutenant Cross's investigation with preconceived notions. I put myself in a situation where confrontation was likely. And when Lieutenant Cross reacted poorly but understandably given his intoxication, I escalated rather than de-escalated. Maya looked down the picture of defeated humility. This is not the conduct expected of a federal agent. This is not the conduct expected of a Navy SEAL. I failed. I failed my oath. I failed my service. And I especially failed Lieutenant Cross, who is a decorated combat veteran who deserves better. The words tasted like poison in her mouth, but she watched Hastings pull out his phone, already texting someone. Probably Brennan, probably Victor Salazar. The message would be clear. Maya Chen broke. The investigation is over. A reporter near the back shouted, "What about the trafficking allegations? Are you dropping those charges?" Maya looked up, let tears shine in her eyes. Real tears, but not for the reason anyone thought. She was crying for Maria Gonzalez, for the 43 women whose names she'd memorized, for every moment of the last 7 months that was about to be erased from the public record. There is no evidence of trafficking. Her voice broke completely. I wanted there to be. I wanted to be the hero who exposed a massive conspiracy. But the truth is, I saw patterns that weren't there. I connected dots that shouldn't be connected. The Mariposa Club is just a bar. Lieutenant Cross is just a young officer who made a mistake. And I'm just an agent who let her ambition override her judgment. Webb stepped forward, his voice cold and official.
Petty Officer Chen will be placed on administrative leave, pending a full internal investigation.
The charges against Lieutenant Cross are being reviewed. That's all we have at this time. Hastings stood buttoning his jacket. On behalf of the Cross family, we appreciate Agent Chen's honesty. We hope this incident will lead to serious discussions about proper investigative protocols and the dangers of allowing personal bias to influence law enforcement actions. Lieutenant Cross is a victim here, and we look forward to his full exoneration. Senator Cross approached the microphone. I want to add that I hold no ill will toward Agent Chen. She's a young woman who made mistakes. We all make mistakes. I hope she learns from this and becomes a better agent. As for my son, he's already forgiven her. That's the kind of man he is. That's the kind of character the military instills in our service members. Maya wanted to vomit. Instead, she nodded meekly and let Webb guide her out of the room. The reporters were already filing their stories. By noon, every news outlet in America would be running some version of the same headline: Female SEAL admits to targeting war hero in botched investigation. They walked in silence down the corridor until they reached a secure briefing room. Webb checked for electronic surveillance devices before speaking. That was perfect. Oscar-worthy. I feel dirty. You should. That's how you know you did it right. Webb pulled out his tablet. Hastings texted Marcus Brennan 30 seconds after you started your statement. Brennan called someone in Tijuana. We're tracing it now. Reeves entered, followed by 3 FBI agents Maya didn't recognize. Tech team isolated audio from the video. There's a train horn in the background, very faint. They're analyzing the frequency pattern to identify which rail line. How long? Maya demanded. 2 hours, maybe 3. It's a long shot, but it's all we have. Maya paced the small room like a caged animal. We gave them what they wanted. I humiliated myself on national television. Now they need to feel safe enough to get sloppy. One of the FBI agents, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes, spoke up. We've got surveillance on 12 properties connected to Salazar's network. If they move Maria, we'll see it. If they haven't killed her already, Maya said bitterly. They won't. Webb's voice was certain. Not yet. She's leverage. As long as they think you might change your mind, might decide to keep fighting, they'll keep her alive. That's not exactly comforting. It's not meant to be. It's tactical reality. Webb pulled up a map on his tablet. The Mariposa Club is here. We've identified 6 properties within a 50-mile radius that Salazar controls through shell corporations. 3 warehouses, 2 residential homes, 1 defunct motel. If they're holding Maria, she's in one of those locations. Maya studied the map, her SEAL training automatically calculating distances, response times, tactical approaches. We can't raid all 6 simultaneously. We don't have the manpower, and if we hit the wrong one first, they'll kill her and disappear. Which is why we need to narrow it down. Reeves pointed to the northern properties. These 2 are too close to residential areas. Too much risk of witnesses. Salazar's smart, he wouldn't keep prisoners somewhere with nosy neighbors. That leaves 4. Maya traced the routes with her finger. This warehouse in Otay Mesa is right near the border crossing. Easy escape into Mexico if things go wrong. That's my first choice. The FBI agent nodded. Agreed. But we need confirmation before we move. 1 shot, that's all we get. Maya's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart stopped. She answered on speaker. A distorted voice, the same one from the video. Agent Chen, we watched your press conference. Very moving, very convincing. I meant every word. I'm done. The investigation is over. Are you? Because I'm looking at FBI surveillance teams on 3 of my properties right now. That doesn't seem very done to me. Maya's eyes snapped to Webb. He was already making frantic gestures to the tech team. They needed to trace this call. That's not my doing. The FBI doesn't answer to me. I'm on administrative leave. Then get them to back off. You have a pause. Let's say 30 hours left. If I see another federal agent within a mile of any property I own, Maria starts losing fingers. Am I clear? Crystal clear. Good. One more thing, Agent Chen. Don't think I'm stupid. Don't think I didn't notice you looking at your FBI handler while we're talking. Don't think I don't know you're tracing this call. The voice laughed cold and mechanical. You can't find me. You can't beat me. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can move on with your pathetic little life. The call ended. The tech agent was shaking his head. Burner phone already destroyed. Got 3 seconds of usable signal before he ditched it. Webb slammed his hand on the table. He's watching us. He's got eyes on our surveillance teams. Or someone's feeding him information, Reeves said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Think about it. He knew about Maya's investigation months ago. He knew she'd be at the Anchor Bar last night. He knows we have teams on his properties. Either he's running counter-surveillance so sophisticated that our people didn't spot it, or we have a leak. Maya felt the cold certainty of it settling into her bones. Someone inside. Someone with access to operational information. Webb's face went gray. My team has been working this investigation for 8 hours. Only 12 people know the full scope. If one of them... It's not just your team, Maya interrupted. NCIS, Navy, CID-based security, dozens of people have pieces of this investigation. Any one of them could be feeding information to Salazar. Or to Marcus Brennan. Reeves pulled out her phone. Who then feeds it to Salazar? That's how they've stayed ahead of us. They have someone on the inside. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They couldn't trust their own people. Couldn't trust their communications. Couldn't trust that any plan they made wouldn't be compromised before they executed it. Maya's mind raced. The video! When they sent it, they must have assumed I'd bring it to the FBI. They wanted us to scramble, wanted us to put surveillance on their properties. It was a test. A test we failed, Webb said. They wanted to confirm they had a leak, and we confirmed it by immediately deploying teams to exactly the locations they'd expect. So, what do we do? The FBI agent asked. We can't investigate without investigating. We can't coordinate without communicating. Maya looked at Webb, then at Reeves. We go dark. Completely dark. The three of us only. No teams, no surveillance, no official anything. That's insane, Webb said. We're talking about taking down a trafficking network with 3 people. We're not taking down the network. Not yet. We're finding Maria. That's the only mission. Save 1 woman in the next 30 hours. And then what? Even if we find her, even if we rescue her, Salazar walks. Brennan walks. Senator Cross walks. Everything you've worked for, gone. Maya met his eyes. Then it's gone. But Maria Gonzalez lives. That's the trade I'm willing to make. Reeves stepped forward. I'm in. Webb looked at them both like they'd lost their minds. You realize you're throwing away your careers. You're talking about conducting an unauthorized operation on American soil, without backup, without clearance, without oversight. If anything goes wrong, we'll already be dead, Maya said flatly. So our careers won't matter much. Webb was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled off his FBI badge and ID and set them on the table. Okay, I'm in. But we do this smart. We use equipment that can't be traced back to any agency. We use vehicles that aren't in any government database. And we sure as hell don't tell anyone what we're doing. Maya pulled out her phone, opened her contacts, and started scrolling. I know a guy. Former SEAL got out 3 years ago, runs a private security company. He owes me. Owes you for what? I didn't shoot him during a training exercise when I probably should have. She dialed the number. It rang 3 times. Chen, that really you? The voice on the other end was rough familiar, touched with Southern California surf culture. Hey Reaper, I need a favor. Saw your press conference. Rough morning. It's about to get rougher. I need weapons, body armor, comms gear, and a vehicle. All off the books. Can you help? There was a pause. This about those trafficking cases you've been working? Maya's breath caught. How do you know about that? Come on, Maya. You think SEALs don't talk, word gets around. You're making waves. Good waves, but waves. Another pause. Yeah, I can help. But whatever you're planning, you're going to need more than 3 people. I don't have more people. Can't trust anyone. You can trust me. And I've got 5 guys from my company, all former military, all solid. Let me help. Maya wanted to say yes, wanted the backup. But if this goes wrong, you'll lose your company, your reputation, everything. Then we better not let it go wrong. Text me an address. We'll meet you in 2 hours. He hung up before Maya could argue. Webb was staring at her. You just recruited a private military contractor for an illegal operation. Former SEAL and his team. There's a difference. Not in the eyes of the law, there's not. But Webb was smiling slightly. Although I have to admit, I'm starting to like our odds better. Reeves was already planning. We need to identify which property they're holding Maria at. Otay Mesa Warehouse is our best guess, but if we're wrong, we can't be wrong. Maya pulled up the video on her phone again, watching it for the 100th time. Maria's face, the concrete walls, the shadows. Something was nagging at her, something she was missing. She paused. The video zoomed in on the wall behind Maria. There, barely visible. A faint outline where something had been mounted. She zoomed further. The shape was distinctive. 4 bolts in a square pattern about 8 inches apart. Reeves, you spent time in supply logistics, right? 3 years. Why, what would leave bolt holes like this? Maya showed her the screen. Reeves studied it carefully. Electrical panel. Industrial size, probably 220 volt. You see them in warehouses, factories, anywhere with heavy machinery. So not a residential home, not a motel. Maya's heart rate accelerated. Warehouse, has to be. Webb pulled up the map again. 3 warehouses on our list. Otay Mesa, near the border, Miramar, near the Marine base, and one in National City, near the shipyards. National City, Maya said immediately. The train horn in the audio. The shipyards are right next to the rail line. That's our target. The FBI agent was shaking her head. That's a huge leap based on almost no evidence. It's not a leap, it's probability. Maya stood, adrenaline flooding her system. Everything points to National City. The electrical panel, the train horn, the fact that it's the least obvious choice because it's so close to law enforcement activity. Salazar would think we'd never look there. Webb studied the map, his expression calculating. The National City warehouse is registered to a shell corp called Estrella Imports. The other 2 properties have more obvious connections to Salazar. She's right. It's the smart play. Or it's exactly what they want us to think. Reeves crossed her arms. This could be another test. They send us to National City. We come up empty, and they know we're still actively investigating, despite the press conference. Then we don't go in like investigators. Maya's voice was cold. We go in like operators. No badges, no official anything, just 3 people who happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Webb understood immediately. Black operation. Completely deniable. Exactly. If we're wrong, nobody ever knows we were there. If we're right, we save Maria and figure out our next move from there. Reeves nodded slowly. Okay, I'm convinced. When do we move? Maya checked her watch. Reaper's meeting us in 2 hours with equipment. We'll need time to do reconnaissance, plan our approach. Figure first light tomorrow morning. Give them overnight to think they've won to get comfortable. That's 28 hours from now, the FBI agent said. You're cutting it close. Close is all we've got. Maya looked at Webb and Reeves. If either of you wants to back out, now's the time. What we're about to do, it's illegal. It violates about 40 federal laws and probably a dozen military regulations. Your careers are over if we get caught. Webb smiled. My career's been over before. Didn't stick. I'm not worried. Commander, Maya turned to Reeves. Your father saved my life once. Afghanistan ambush, I was pinned down and out of ammo. He came back for me when he should have kept moving. Never even hesitated. Reeves's voice was steady. I'm not backing out. Whatever happens, we do this together. Maya felt something tight in her chest loosen slightly. Not relief, not hope, just the small comfort of knowing she wasn't alone. Okay then, let's go save Maria Gonzalez. They spent the next hour planning. Webb used a personal laptop with no government connections to access public records about the National City warehouse. Built in 1987, 50,000 square feet officially used for import-export operations, but with no actual shipments logged in the past 2 years. Power bills were minimal, suggesting limited use, but the water bill was higher than it should be for an empty building. They're keeping people there, Maya said. Has to be. Empty warehouse doesn't use that much water. Reeves pulled up satellite imagery. 2 entrances. Main rolling door on the west side, personnel door on the east. No windows except for clerestory panels 30 feet up. Surrounded by other warehouses, most of them active during business hours. So we go in at night when the neighbors aren't watching. Maya traced potential approach routes. Come in from the south through this drainage channel. Gives us cover almost to the building itself. Webb was shaking his head. You're talking about a tactical breach with minimal intel. We don't know how many hostiles are inside. We don't know the interior layout. We don't know what kind of security systems they have. Then we'll adapt. Maya's voice was absolute. I've breached compounds in Afghanistan with less intel than this. We go in quiet, find Maria, extract her, and disappear. Simple. Nothing about this is simple. No, but it's necessary. Maya locked eyes with him. Marcus Brennan and Victor Salazar and Senator Cross, they think they've won. They think I'm broken, that the investigation is dead, that they can go back to business as usual. Let them think that. Let them sleep soundly tonight. Because tomorrow morning we're coming for them. Her phone buzzed. Text from Reaper. Warehouse in Barrio Logan. 1 hour. Come alone. First, bring your friends after we talk. Maya showed the text to Webb and Reeves. He wants to vet you both before committing his people. Smart. Or it's a trap, Webb said. How well do you really know this guy? Well enough to trust him with my life, which is what I'm about to do. Maya grabbed her jacket. I'll meet him, make sure he's solid, then bring you both in. If you don't hear from me in 90 minutes, we come looking for you. Reeves finished. No. If you don't hear from me in 90 minutes, assume I'm compromised and execute the National City operation without me. Don't let my stupidity kill Maria. Webb looked like he wanted to argue, but he just nodded. Be careful. Maya headed for the door, then paused. Webb, thank you. For believing me. For risking everything. Thank me when we win. Deal. She left the briefing room and walked through the base, watching everything with paranoid intensity. Every person could be the leak. Every glance could be surveillance. She'd entered a world where trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. The drive to Barrio Logan took 20 minutes. Maya spent it watching her mirrors, checking for tails, running counter-surveillance protocols. Nobody followed. Either she was clean, or they were so good she couldn't spot them. The warehouse Reaper had chosen was abandoned, graffiti-covered windows broken. Perfect. Maya parked 3 blocks away and approached on foot, moving through shadows, a ghost in her own city. Still got those seal moves, I see. Reaper's voice came from the darkness above. He was on the warehouse roof, watching her approach. Come on up. Stairs in the back. Maya found the rusted staircase and climbed. Reaper met her at the top, 6'2", built like a linebacker, covered in tattoos, wearing tactical pants and a faded Hawaiian shirt. His real name was Marcus Hale, but everyone called him Reaper because he'd survived 3 combat tours that should have killed him. You look like hell, he said cheerfully. Feel worse. Maya embraced him briefly. Thanks for this. Haven't agreed to anything yet. Sit. He gestured to a crate. Tell me everything. So she did. The whole story from Maria Gonzalez's disappearance to the press conference that morning. Reaper listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker as she spoke. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. You're talking about going to war with a United States senator. I'm talking about saving women's lives. Those 2 things aren't mutually exclusive. He pulled out a pack of cigarettes, offered her one. She declined. He lit one and stared out over the city. I'm in. My guys are in. But I need you to understand something first. What? Reaper turned to face her, his expression deadly serious. Once we do this, there's no going back. Senator Cross, his friends, his allies, they will hunt you for the rest of your life. They'll destroy you legally, financially, socially. You'll never work in law enforcement again. Hell, you'll probably never work anywhere again. They'll make you radioactive. I know. Do you? Because I've seen this before. Good people doing the right thing getting crushed by the machine. And the machine always wins, Maya. Always. She met his eyes. Then maybe it's time someone changed that. Reaper stared at her, then laughed a sharp, humorless bark. Damn. You really are James Chen's daughter. He crushed out his cigarette. Okay. Let's go meet your FBI friends and plan how to storm a fortress with 8 people and hope. We've attacked worse odds. Yeah, and barely survived. But Reaper was smiling now, that dangerous smile of someone who'd accepted his own death and found freedom in it. This is going to be a hell of a story, assuming any of us live to tell it. They descended from the roof and Maya texted Webb the all clear. 20 minutes later, Webb and Reeves arrived. Reaper sized them up with a professional's eye. FBI and Navy Command, interesting team. Desperate times, Webb said. Fair enough. My guys will be here in 15. While we wait, let's talk about how we're actually going to do this. Reaper pulled out a tablet with satellite imagery of the National City warehouse. Because walking in the front door is a good way to get everyone killed. Maya leaned over the images, her tactical mind already working through angles of approach fields of fire contingency plans. Somewhere in that warehouse, if their intelligence was right, Maria Gonzalez was waiting, hoping, praying someone would find her before the deadline expired and the knives came out. They had 27 hours left, and Maya Chen was done playing defense. Reaper's team arrived in 2 unmarked vans at exactly midnight. Maya watched them file into the warehouse, 5 men all moving with that distinctive economy of motion that marked special operations veterans. No wasted movement, no unnecessary sound. Just professionals who'd learned their trade in the worst places on Earth. The first through this door was a massive black man with a shaved head and a scar running from his left eye to his jawline. Spider, Reaper said by way of introduction. Former Marine Force Recon, best breacher I've ever seen. Spider nodded to Maya. Heard about you. Buds, Class 348. You're the one who broke Instructor Keller's nose during hand-to-hand training. Maya smiled grimly. He shouldn't have grabbed my ass. Respect. Spider set down a heavy equipment bag. What are we hitting? The next man was smaller, wiry, with nervous energy that seemed barely contained. This is Ghost, Army Delta Communications Specialist. If it has a signal, he can intercept it, jam it, or fake it. Ghost didn't make eye contact, just pulled out a laptop and started running diagnostics. Need the target's wireless frequencies, security system specs, any electronic infrastructure within a half-mile radius. We don't have specs, Webb said. We're going in almost blind. Ghost looked up, his eyes sharp despite his shy demeanor. Then we're idiots, but I've worked with less. The third man was Hispanic, mid-30s, wearing expensive running shoes and a hoodie. Hawk, Navy corpsman, served with me in Afghanistan. If someone gets shot, he's the reason they might live. Hawk raised a hand in greeting. Hope I'm not needed, but I usually am. The fourth was the youngest, maybe 26, with blonde hair and a California surfer look that was completely at odds with the tactical gear he was unpacking. Rookie, no relation to the other rookie you met. Army Ranger sniper, qualified, young, and stupid enough to think this is a good idea. I'm 23 and I thought it was a good idea, Maya said. So you're in good company. The last man through the door made everyone else look small. 6'5", maybe 280 pounds of solid muscle, with a red beard that would have made a Viking jealous. Gunner, former SEAL like you and Reaper. Served together in Team 7. Gunner looked at Maya for a long moment. Your old man trained me. 2010 Advanced Tactics course. Best instructor I ever had. His voice was surprisingly soft for such a large man. He talked about you. Said you were going to be better than him someday. Maya's throat tightened. Did he? Said you had his tactical mind, but your mother's heart. Said that combination would make you unstoppable. Gunner extended his massive hand. It's an honor to serve with you. She shook his hand, unable to speak for a moment. Reeves put a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. Reaper clapped his hands once. Okay, family reunion's over. Let's talk about how we're going to assault a fortified warehouse, rescue a hostage, and not die in the process. He pulled up the satellite imagery on a large tablet propped on a crate. Target is here. National City Industrial District. 50,000 square feet, 2 known entrances, probably armed guards, definitely cameras and motion sensors. Spider leaned in, studying the building. Standard commercial construction. Concrete walls, steel roof loading dock on the west side. If they're smart, they've reinforced the entrances and installed anti-breach measures. They're smart, Maya said. Victor Salazar runs this operation. Former Tijuana cartel enforcer, did 3 years in Mexican federal prison before buying his way out. He's paranoid and violent and very good at staying alive. Ghost tapped his laptop. I'm pulling up building permits, electrical records, anything that might tell us about the interior layout. Give me 10 minutes. Webb spread out printed floor plans. These are from 1987 when the warehouse was built. Original purpose was automotive parts storage. Main floor is mostly open space with a mezzanine office level on the north side. If they're holding prisoners, my guess is they'd be up there. Easier to secure better sightlines. Or in the basement, Reeves countered. These older warehouses often have underground storage. Concrete, soundproof, no windows. Perfect for keeping people you don't want found. Maya studied the plans, her mind running through tactical scenarios. We need eyes on the interior before we breach. Ghost, can you get us a camera inside? Depends on their security system. If they're running wireless cameras, I can probably hack the feed. If it's hardwired. He shrugged. I'll need physical access to a junction box. There's a power pole 60 feet from the east entrance. Hawk said, pointing at the satellite image. Standard commercial electrical. I can climb it, tap into their system, give Ghost a way in. Webb shook his head. Too exposed. They'll have cameras on that pole. Not if we kill the power first. Spider was grinning. 'Cause a localized blackout, they'll think it's a normal outage. While they're scrambling to check their backup generators, Hawk makes the climb. 2 minutes max. And if they have guards patrolling, Reeves asked, then we neutralize them. Maya's voice was cold. Non-lethally, if possible. But we can't let anyone raise an alarm. Reaper nodded. Okay, so phase 1 is reconnaissance. We get Ghost access to their system, get eyes inside, confirm the hostage location. Phase 2 is extraction. We breach, we grab Maria, we disappear. Simple. Nothing's ever simple, Gunner rumbled, which is why we plan for contingencies. Maya pulled out a marker and started drawing on the satellite image. Primary breach point here at the personnel door. Spider takes point with the hydraulic ram. Secondary breach here at the loading dock in case the primary is compromised. Gunner and Rookie provide overwatch from these positions with suppressed weapons. Reeves, Webb, and I form the primary assault team. Reaper, you coordinate from outside with Ghost monitoring communications. Hawk stays mobile as QRF Quick Reaction Force, ready to provide medical or tactical support wherever needed. Spider was nodding. What's the rules of engagement? We're talking about civilians inside. Maybe hostages, maybe traffickers, definitely guards. How do we tell them apart? Maya met his eyes. Anyone armed is a hostile. Anyone restraining or guarding prisoners is a hostile. Anyone else we secure and sort out later. But, she paused. If it comes down to a choice between letting a trafficker escape and risking Maria's life, we let him escape. The mission is saving her. Everything else is secondary. Even if that means Salazar walks, Webb asked. Even if that means Salazar walks. Maya's voice was absolute. We can catch him again. We can build another case. But if Maria dies, we can't bring her back. Reeves checked her watch. It's 100 hours. We've got approximately 6 hours until dawn. What's our timeline? We move at 0400, Maya said. Dark enough for stealth, early enough that most guards will be fighting fatigue. We do the power outage at 0345, Hawk makes his climb at 0350, Ghost gets us interior access by 0400. We breach at 0415. That's aggressive, Gunner said. Only 15 minutes for reconnaissance. It's all we have. We wait any longer, we lose the darkness. We go any earlier, we don't have enough intel. Maya looked around at the assembled team. I know this is rushed. I know it's dangerous. Anyone wants to walk away, do it now. No judgment. Nobody moved. All right then. Reaper started distributing equipment. Spider, you're on breaching tools. Gunner and Rookie suppressed rifles with night vision. Ghost, you've got your electronic warfare kit. Everyone else gets body armor, sidearms, flex cuffs, and trauma kits. We go in quiet, we stay quiet as long as possible. But if shooting starts, we finish it fast and we finish it completely. They spent the next 2 hours running through the plan, identifying weak points, creating contingencies. Ghost managed to pull up electrical records showing the warehouse was drawing significantly more power than an empty building should, confirming someone was definitely operating inside. He also found something else. They've got a dedicated server, Ghost said, staring at his laptop screen. Industrial-grade bandwidth, way more than you'd need for security cameras. They're transmitting large data files regularly. What kind of data? Webb leaned over his shoulder. Encrypted so I can't see the content, but the file sizes and transmission patterns. Ghost's face went pale. They're streaming video, multiple feeds, high resolution. The implications hit everyone at once. Reeves spoke first, her voice tight with rage. They're filming it. The trafficking, the abuse, they're recording it and selling it. That's a separate crime, Webb said. Production and distribution of illegal material. Federal charges that carry mandatory minimums. If we can seize those servers... When we seize those servers, Maya corrected. This just became a multi-agency case. FBI for the trafficking, Homeland Security for the digital crimes. Senator Cross won't be able to make this disappear. If we live long enough to deliver the evidence, Spider pointed out. Right now, we're still planning to attack an armed facility with 8 people and hope. Rookie was checking his rifle, his young face serious. I've stormed Taliban compounds with worse odds. At least here we speak the language and know the terrain. The Taliban didn't have United States senators backing them up, Hawk said. No, but they had RPGs and the home field advantage. Rookie chambered around. I'll take this fight any day. Maya felt a surge of affection for this team, these warriors who'd agreed to risk everything based on her word alone. Thank you, all of you. When this is over, drinks are on me. When this is over, we'll probably be in federal prison, Reaper said cheerfully. But I appreciate the sentiment. They loaded equipment into the vans at 0230. Maya did a final communications check, making sure everyone's radios were encrypted and operating on a frequency the government wasn't monitoring. Ghost had rigged them with burst transmission capability, short compressed messages that would be nearly impossible to intercept or trace. The drive to National City took 40 minutes through empty streets. Maya rode with Webb and Reeves, the silence heavy with anticipation and fear. You ever wonder if we're the bad guys? Webb asked quietly. I mean, we're about to conduct an armed assault without warrants, without authorization, without oversight. That's literally terrorism by most definitions. The bad guys are the ones selling women like livestock, Maya said. We're just the people willing to stop them. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Maybe, but sitting around doing nothing while people suffer, that's its own kind of hell. Maya checked her pistol, a Glock 19 with an extended magazine. I'd rather be judged for what I did than what I failed to do. Reeves hadn't spoken much since they left the warehouse. Now she turned in the passenger seat to look at Maya. Your father told me something once. We were under fire, pinned down in a dried-up riverbed, waiting for extraction that might not come. I asked him if he was scared. What did he say? He said fear is just your body's way of telling you that you're doing something important. If you're not scared, you're not pushing hard enough. Reeves smiled sadly. Then he stood up and charged an enemy position by himself so the rest of us could escape. Took a bullet in the shoulder but killed 3 hostiles and bought us the time we needed. Maya felt tears burning in her eyes. That sounds like him. You're like him. Same courage, same willingness to sacrifice yourself for others. But Maya, Reeves reached back and squeezed her hand. Don't die for this. Live for it. Win and survive and make sure his sacrifice meant something. I'll do my best. That's all anyone can ask. They arrived at the staging area at 0330, parking the vans 3 blocks from the target in an abandoned lot. The team assembled quickly, checking weapons, adjusting body armor, preparing for violence with the calm professionalism of people who'd done this dozens of times before. Gunner and Rookie moved into overwatch positions. Gunner on a rooftop 200 yards north with a clear sight line to the warehouse's east entrance. Rookie in a drainage culvert 300 yards south covering the west side. Both carried suppressed rifles and night vision scopes. Overwatch 1 in position. Gunner's voice came through the radio barely above a whisper. Overwatch 2 in position, Rookie confirmed. I've got movement inside the warehouse. 3 visible targets on the main floor, 1 on the mezzanine. Maya's heart rate elevated. Can you identify any prisoners? Negative. Too much interference from the structure, but the mezzanine target appears to be observing the main floor. Could be a supervisor. Or a guard, Spider said. He was crouched beside the power pole tools ready. Ghost, you ready? Ghost was in the van with his laptop monitoring every electronic signal in a half-mile radius. Standing by, cut the power in 3, 2, 1. Spider threw the switch. A section of National City went dark. The warehouse disappeared into blackness for approximately 3 seconds. Then emergency lights flickered on inside, visible through the high windows. Battery backups just as they'd expected. They're checking their systems, Ghost reported. Multiple phone calls going out. They think it's a regular power outage. Hawk, you've got maybe 90 seconds before they confirm that. Hawk was already climbing the pole, moving fast, despite the weight of his equipment. He reached the junction box in 40 seconds, popped it open, and started connecting Ghost's tap device. 30 seconds. Hurry, Ghost urged. One of them just called the power company. When they say they don't have any reported outages in this area. Done. Hawk descended the pole in 15 seconds, hit the ground, and melted back into the shadows. I'm in their system, Ghost said, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Accessing security cameras now. Oh, Jesus. What? Maya demanded. What do you see? Main floor has 18 women, all restrained. Ages range from late teens to 30s. They're in cages. Ghost's voice was shaking. Actual cages like animals. Maya felt rage so pure and hot it threatened to overwhelm her tactical discipline. Do you see Maria Gonzalez? Searching. These cameras are low quality. Wait. Mezzanine level small room on the northwest corner. Single prisoner matches Maria's description. She's alive. Relief and determination surged through Maya in equal measure. How many hostiles? 6 visible. 3 on the main floor, 1 on the mezzanine watching the prisoners, 2 in what looks like an office on the south side. Could be more I'm not seeing. 6 against 8. Better odds than Maya had hoped for. Weapons. Handguns on all of them. I see 1 shotgun leaning against a desk in the office. No rifles visible. Spider grunted. They're not expecting trouble. This is a holding facility, not a fortress. They rely on secrecy, not firepower. Don't underestimate them, Reaper warned. These are cartel-trained enforcers. They've killed before and they'll do it again without hesitation. Maya checked her watch. 0400. Time to move. Spider Reeves web with me. Reaper coordinates. Ghost provides overwatch through the security feeds. Gunner and Rookie, your weapons free if anyone tries to escape or if you see immediate threat to hostages. Copy that. Gunner's voice was calm. Happy hunting. They moved through the darkness like ghosts themselves, covering the 60 yards from their concealment to the warehouse's east entrance in 2 minutes. Maya stacked up behind Spider at the door with Reeves and Webb behind her. Spider examined the lock with a small flashlight. Standard commercial deadbolt. I can pick it or breach it. Pick takes 2 minutes and keeps it quiet. Breach takes 3 seconds and makes noise. Pick it, Maya decided. We maintain surprise as long as possible. Spider went to work with his lockpicks. Maya counted her heartbeats, forcing her breathing to stay slow and controlled. Behind her, Webb shifted nervously. Reeves was utterly still a predator, waiting to strike. Got it, Spider whispered. He eased the door open half an inch. Clear immediate. Hallway extends 20 feet, opens to the main floor. They entered single-file, weapons up, moving with practiced silence. The hallway was dark except for dim emergency lighting. At the far end, they could hear voices speaking Spanish casual conversation between men who thought they were safe. Maya's Spanish was fluent courtesy of her SEAL training. She picked up fragments of the conversation. Something about a football game, complaints about the pay, crude jokes about the prisoners. Each word fueled the cold rage building in her chest. They reached the end of the hallway. Spider held up a fist-hold position. He peeked around the corner, then pulled back and held up 3 fingers. 3 hostiles in visual range. Ghost's voice came through their earpieces, barely audible. Targets are at your 11 o'clock, approximately 40 feet away. They're sitting at a table playing cards. Not alert. The mezzanine guard is directly above them, watching the prisoners. Office guards are still in the office on the opposite side. You've got a clean approach if you move now. Maya tapped Spider's shoulder twice. Go. They moved into the main floor with weapons raised. The space was huge, filled with empty pallets and the cages Ghost had described. 18 women, just like he'd said, some sleeping, some crying quietly, some just staring at nothing with the dead eyes of people who'd given up hope. The 3 guards were 40 feet away, their backs partially to Maya's team. They had maybe 3 seconds before one of them turned or looked up or sensed something wrong. Spider dropped the first one with a suppressed double tap to the chest. The man slumped forward onto the cards without a sound. The second guard started to turn, reaching for his weapon. Reeves shot him twice in the head. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The third guard got his gun halfway out of his holster before Maya put a bullet through his throat. He fell backward, blood spraying, making a horrible gurgling sound. Main floor guards down, Spider reported, moving to secure the mezzanine. The guard on the mezzanine had heard something. He was standing now looking down at the main floor, trying to see what had caused the noise. Spider raised his weapon, but the angle was wrong, too much railing in the way. Maya made a split-second decision. She broke from cover and sprinted toward the mezzanine stairs, trusting her team to cover her. The guard saw her, shouted something in Spanish, and raised his weapon. Maya fired while running 3 shots, 2 missed, but the third caught him in the shoulder. He spun and fell but didn't drop his gun. She took the stairs 3 at a time. The guard was on his back trying to bring his weapon up. Maya kicked it out of his hand and put her gun to his head. "Where is Maria Gonzalez?" He spat blood at her. "Vete al infierno." Go to hell. Maya didn't have time for interrogation. She hit him with the butt of her pistol, knocking him unconscious, and zip-tied his hands. Hostile secured on mezzanine, searching for Maria now. The mezzanine level was a maze of small offices and storage rooms. Maya moved through them methodically, clearing each one, her heart pounding with fear that they'd been wrong, that Maria wasn't here, that they'd risked everything for nothing. Then she heard crying. Soft, hopeless, the sound of someone who'd been crying for so long, they had no tears left. Maya kicked open the door to the northwest office. Maria Gonzalez was exactly where Ghost had said she'd be, tied to a chair, beaten and terrified. She looked up as Maya entered, her eyes widening in confusion and fear. "Maria," Maya said gently, lowering her weapon. "Maria Gonzalez, I'm here to help. You're safe now." Maria didn't respond, just stared at her with the hollow gaze of profound trauma. Maya cut her restraints with a knife and helped her stand. Maria's legs nearly gave out. She hadn't walked in days. "We're leaving. Right now. Can you walk?" "Mi hija," Maria whispered. "My daughter. They said if I tried to escape, they'd kill my daughter." "Your daughter is safe. She's with your mother in Chula Vista. Nobody's going to hurt her. I promise." Something in Maya's voice must have convinced her. Maria nodded shakily. "Ghost," Maya said into her radio. "I've got Maria. She's mobile but weak. What's our status on the office guards?" "They heard the shooting. They're barricaded inside and making calls. You've got maybe 3 minutes before reinforcements arrive." "Copy that. Moving to extract." Maya supported Maria's weight and headed for the stairs. Spider Reeves' web status. "We're releasing the other prisoners," Reeves said. "But we've got a problem. Most of them don't speak English and they're too traumatized to understand what's happening. They think we're more traffickers." Maya cursed. They'd planned for a quick extraction of 1 hostage, not dealing with 18 terrified women. "We can't leave them here." "We also can't carry 18 people out of here," Webb said grimly. "The vans won't hold that many, and we definitely can't move that group without being seen." Maya's tactical mind raced through options. They were all bad. Reaper, call 911. Anonymous tip about a trafficking operation at this address. Get police and FBI here immediately. That exposes us, Reaper warned. I don't care. We can't leave these women to be recaptured. Maya reached the bottom of the stairs with Maria. The main floor was chaos, women emerging from cages, some trying to run, others cowering in fear. Spider and Webb were trying to control the situation, but it was falling apart. Then gunfire erupted from the office. Not suppressed pops, but full-throated roars. The office guards were shooting through the door blindly, sending rounds ricocheting through the warehouse. Everyone down, Spider shouted. Maya threw herself over Maria, shielding her body. Bullets whined overhead, impacting concrete and steel. One of the prisoners screamed and fell, blood blooming on her leg. Hawk, we've got wounded, Maya called. Office guards are engaging with live fire. On my way, Hawk responded. Gunner's voice came through calm despite the situation. I've got a vehicle approaching fast from the south. White van, 4 occupants visible. They're armed. Reinforcements. Of course Salazar would have backup nearby. Can you stop them? Not without lethal force. They're using a civilian vehicle. Could be innocents inside. But they're not innocents if they're responding to a distress call from a trafficking warehouse, Maya said. Take them. Copy that. Maya heard the distant crack of Gunner's rifle. Then again, then a third time. Van is disabled. All occupants down. But that's going to bring attention fast. We're out of time, Reeves said. She'd gotten most of the women moving toward the east exit. We need to leave now. What about the office guards? Webb asked. Spider settled that question by tossing a flashbang grenade under the office door. The explosion was deafening in the enclosed space. He kicked the door open and went in fast. 2 shots. Silence. Office clear. 2 hostiles down. We're secure. Maya helped Maria toward the exit, scanning constantly for threats. They'd been inside the warehouse for maybe 8 minutes. Felt like hours. Her ears were ringing from the gunfire. Her hands were shaking with adrenaline. They emerged into pre-dawn darkness. Police sirens were wailing in the distance, getting closer. Reaper had both vans pulled up, engines running. They loaded the women as quickly as possible, 9 in each van, cramped and scared but alive. Where are we taking them? Hawk asked as he worked on the wounded woman's leg. The bullet had passed through the meat of her calf, painful but not life-threatening. Police station, Maya decided. We drop them at the front entrance and disappear before anyone can identify us. That's insane, Webb said. We just assaulted a warehouse and killed multiple suspects. We can't just watch me. Maya climbed into the driver's seat. Everyone in. We leave in 30 seconds. The team loaded up. Gunner and Rookie were already falling back from their overwatch positions. Ghost had remotely wiped his connection to the warehouse security system, leaving no digital footprints. In 30 seconds, they were rolling. Maya drove with controlled aggression, taking back streets and avoiding main roads. Behind her, 18 women huddled together, some crying, some silent, all traumatized beyond anything Maya could imagine. Maria sat in the front passenger seat, staring at her hands. Thank you, Maria whispered. Thank you for finding me. I'm sorry it took so long. You came. That's what matters. Maria looked at her. My daughter, you really think she's safe? I know she is. And you're going to see her again very soon. I promise. They reached the National City Police Station at 0500. Maya pulled the van up to the front entrance, helped the women out, and was back in the driver's seat in 90 seconds. The second van, driven by Spider, was right behind her. As they pulled away, Maya saw officers emerging from the station, confusion turning to shock as they registered 18 traumatized women who'd just been dumped on their doorstep. But by then, Maya's team was 3 blocks away and accelerating. They ditched the vans in an industrial park near the airport, transferred to the vehicles they'd arrived in, and scattered. Maya drove with Webb and Reeves in tense silence, each of them processing what they'd just done. We killed 4 people tonight, Webb finally said. We conducted an armed assault on American soil. We operated completely outside the law. And you know what the worst part is? What? Maya asked. I don't regret any of it. Webb leaned back and closed his eyes. I should be horrified. But all I feel is satisfaction that those women are safe. That's because you're a good person doing bad things for good reasons, Reeves said. The question is, what happens next? What happened next was Maya's phone ringing. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. Chen. The voice on the other end was cold, mechanical, and absolutely furious. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Victor Salazar. Actually, Maya said, I think I just made the best decision of my life. 18 women are free. Your operation is exposed. It's over, Salazar. Over. It's just beginning. You think this changes anything, I'll rebuild. I always do. But you... His voice dropped to something that sounded almost happy. You just signed your own death warrant, and everyone you love, your mother in Sacramento, your former SEAL teammates, that FBI agent you're working with, everyone. Maya's blood went cold. You touch any of them, you'll what come after me. You just did, and look how that worked out. You got lucky once, you won't get lucky again. He paused. Check your email, Agent Chen. I sent you a going-away present. The call ended. Maya pulled over and opened her email with shaking hands. The message from Salazar contained a single attachment, a photograph. It showed Senator Richard Cross shaking hands with a man in an expensive suit. Behind them, barely visible in the background, was Victor Salazar himself. The photo was dated 3 weeks ago. The message read, "You think you're fighting traffickers. You're actually fighting the United States government. Good luck with that." Maya stared at the photo, her mind reeling. Senator Cross wasn't just covering for his son. He was actively involved. A sitting United States senator was partnered with a human trafficking operation. She showed the photo to Webb and Reeves. Neither spoke for a long moment. "We're in over our heads," Webb finally said. "Way over our heads." "No," Maya said. "We're exactly where we need to be. We've got evidence now, photographic proof. We can take this to..." She stopped. "Who do we take it to? If Cross has connections high enough to protect Salazar, who can we trust?" "Nobody," Reeves said grimly. "We trust nobody." Maya's phone rang again, different number. She answered. "Chen. Agent Chen, this is Director Sarah Holt, FBI." The voice was crisp, authoritative. "I need you to come to the San Diego field office immediately. We have a lot to discuss." Maya met Webb's eyes. He was shaking his head frantically. "Don't go, it's a trap." But Maya had spent the last 12 hours making impossible choices. What was one more, "I'll be there in 30 minutes, she said and hung up. "Are you insane?" Webb grabbed her arm. "If Salazar's connected to Senator Cross and Cross has government connections, then the FBI could be compromised. You walk into that office, you might not walk out." "Or," Maya said, "Director Holt is one of the good ones. Someone who actually cares about justice more than politics. Someone who can help us finish this." That's a hell of a gamble. Everything we've done in the last 24 hours has been a gamble. Maya started the car again. "Besides, we're out of options. We've rescued Maria and the other women, but Salazar's still free, Brennan's still free, Senator Cross is still sitting in Washington planning his presidential campaign. If we don't take this to someone with actual power, none of it matters." "So you're just going to trust the FBI?" "I'm going to trust that there are still people in government who believe in doing the right thing." Maya pulled back into traffic. "And if I'm wrong, if it is a trap, then at least you two will know. You can take what we've learned and find someone else to help." "That's not a plan," Reeves said. "That's suicide." "Maybe. But it's the only move we have left." They drove to the FBI field office in silence. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Somewhere in National City, police were processing a crime scene and trying to figure out what the hell had happened. Somewhere in Chula Vista, Maria Gonzalez was about to be reunited with her daughter. Somewhere in Washington, Senator Cross was waking up to discover his trafficking operation had been exposed, and somewhere Victor Salazar was planning his revenge. Maya Chen pulled into the FBI parking lot and turned off the engine. "Last chance to change your mind," Webb said. "I know." Maya checked her weapon, made sure it was secured in its holster, and opened the door. "Wish me luck." "Maya," Reeves said. "Your father, he'd be proud." Whatever happens next, know that. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak, and walked toward the building. She had no idea if she was about to end her career or save it, but she was about to find out. Director Sarah Holt was nothing like Maya expected. She was in her early 60s, gray hair cut short and practical, wearing a pantsuit that had seen better days, and reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked like someone's grandmother, not the head of an FBI field office. But her eyes were sharp, calculating, and completely unforgiving. "Agent Chen, sit." It wasn't a request. Maya sat in the chair across from Holt's desk, hyper-aware of her body language, her positioning the two armed agents standing by the door. If this went wrong, she had maybe 3 seconds to react before they put her in handcuffs or worse. Holt studied her for a long moment. "Do you know how many federal laws you broke in the last 24 hours? "No, ma'am." "Neither do I. I stopped counting at 37. Holt leaned back in her chair. "Unauthorized military operation on domestic soil. Assault, breaking and entering, murder, and before you say it was self-defense, you need a badge and authorization for that defense to hold up in court. You had neither." Maya kept her voice steady. "Those women needed help. I provided it. Those women are currently being processed by National City PD, who are very confused about how 18 trafficking victims appeared on their doorstep like a care package from God. They're asking questions that lead back to you. Then arrest me." Holt smiled without humor. "Oh, I'm considering it. The problem is, if I arrest you, I also have to arrest Commander Reeves and Special Agent Webb. And then I have to explain why 3 federal employees with spotless records suddenly went rogue. And that leads to questions about what they were investigating, which leads to Senator Richard Cross. And that..." She paused. "That's where things get complicated." Maya's heart rate elevated. "You know about Cross?" "Of course I know about Cross. I've known for 6 months, since before you started your little undercover database contractor routine." Holt opened a file on her desk. "Maria Gonzalez, 42 other women, the Mariposa Club, Victor Salazar, Marcus Brennan, the whole sick network. I've been building a case against them since last April." Maya felt like she'd been punched. "You knew! You knew this whole time and you let it continue." "I let it continue because I needed evidence that would hold up in court against a United States senator. Not speculation, not circumstantial connections. Hard evidence." Holt's voice was steel. "The kind of evidence you just handed me on a silver platter by raiding that warehouse. We killed 4 people, 4 human traffickers who were armed and engaged in felony kidnapping. The shooting was legally justified under any reasonable interpretation, and the surveillance footage that mysteriously appeared in my inbox 3 hours ago shows everything. The weapons, the prisoners, the systematic abuse. It's damning." Maya tried to process this. "Ghost sent you the security footage." "Someone did. I didn't ask who. I don't want to know." Holt pulled out another file. "I also received financial records showing wire transfers from Marcus Brennan to Victor Salazar. Phone records showing calls between Senator Cross and Salazar, and this..." She held up a photograph. The same one Salazar had sent Maya. Senator Cross and Salazar shaking hands. "Where did you get this?" "Salazar sent it to me, after the raid. He wanted me to know how connected he was." He made a mistake. This photo places Cross at a known trafficking hub 3 weeks ago. His calendar shows he was supposedly in Washington that day, meeting with the Armed Services Committee. He lied about his whereabouts to meet with a cartel enforcer. That's conspiracy. That's complicity. That's the end of his career. Maya wanted to feel relief. Instead, she felt exhausted. So what happens now? Now we do this the right way. We build an airtight case. We get warrants. We coordinate with DOJ Homeland Security and about 6 other agencies. We take down not just Salazar and Brennan, but the entire network. Every politician who took their money. Every official who looked the other way. Everyone. That could take months. It will take months, but it will stick." Holt leaned forward. "Agent Chen, I understand your frustration. I understand why you did what you did. But you need to let the system work now. We have enough evidence to move forward legally. If you keep operating outside the law, you'll undermine everything we've built. Maya met her eyes. The system didn't save Maria Gonzalez. I did. Yes, you did. And if I put you in front of a jury, they'd probably give you a medal. But I can't have federal agents deciding when the law applies and when it doesn't. That's not how this works. Even when the law protects monsters like Senator Cross, the law doesn't protect him. Money protects him. Connections protect him. But evidence destroys him. Holt stood and walked to her window. I've been doing this job for 32 years. I've seen good people broken by the machine. I've seen bad people escape justice because they had the right lawyers. I've learned that the only way to beat them is to play smarter, not harder. Playing smart takes time. Time those women didn't have. You're right. But playing smart also means Senator Cross spends the rest of his life in federal prison instead of getting a slap on the wrist and a book deal. Holt turned back to face her. I'm offering you a choice, Agent Chen. You can keep being a vigilante operating outside the system, and eventually you'll get caught or killed. Or you can work with me. Help me finish this case properly. Testify in court. Send these people away forever. Maya wanted to argue. Wanted to say that the system was broken, that it had failed too many times to trust. But she was tired. Bone deep tired. And maybe Holt was right. Maybe this was bigger than one person could handle alone. If I agree to work with you, what happens to Reeves and Webb? They get the same offer. Cooperate with the investigation, provide testimony, and we forget about the unauthorized operation. Their careers continue. Nobody goes to prison. And Reaper's team? Holt smiled slightly. What team? I have no record of any private military contractors being involved. As far as the official record shows, you three conducted the warehouse raid alone. Impressive, if unlikely. Maya understood. Plausible deniability. Holt was protecting them by pretending they didn't exist. And Brandon Cross is currently sitting in a cell at Miramar awaiting court-martial. His assault on you is the least of his problems now. We have evidence he transported victims across state lines, facilitated human trafficking, and accepted money from a criminal organization. He's looking at 30 years minimum. That's not enough. It never is, but it's what we have. Holt sat back down. Here's what's going to happen. In approximately 4 hours, federal agents will arrest Marcus Brennan at his office in Washington. Simultaneously, Mexican authorities, who we've been coordinating with, will arrest Victor Salazar in Tijuana. Both men will be charged with trafficking conspiracy and about 15 other felonies. Their arrests will lead to warrants for Senator Cross. He'll run. He'll try. We've already frozen his assets and flagged his passport. He's not going anywhere. Holt pulled out a document. But I need you to trust me. Trust the process. Can you do that? Maya thought about her father, about Commander James Chen, who'd trusted the system, filed a report about corruption, and died for it. The system had failed him. But maybe it didn't have to fail everyone. Yes, Maya said. I can do that. Good. Holt pushed the document across the desk. Sign this. It's your official statement about the events at the warehouse. I've written it carefully to exclude certain details and emphasize others. Read it first. Maya read it. The statement was masterfully crafted, technically true, but strategically vague. It made the operation sound like a last-minute rescue based on a tip, rather than a planned military assault. It didn't mention Reaper or his team. It made Maya sound like a hero instead of a vigilante. She signed it. Excellent. Now get out of my office. Get some sleep. And Agent Chen... Holt's voice softened slightly. What you did last night, it was reckless and dangerous and completely outside proper procedure. It was also the bravest thing I've seen in 3 decades of law enforcement. Your father would have been proud. Maya's throat tightened. Thank you, ma'am. She left the office and found Webb and Reeves waiting in the lobby, both looking tense. We're clear, Maya said quietly. Holt's on our side. The relief on their faces was palpable. Webb actually laughed a slightly hysterical sound. I thought we were done. I thought we were going to federal prison. We still might if anyone looks too closely at what we actually did, but for now we're good. Maya checked her phone. 7 a.m. She'd been awake for 26 hours straight. Her body was screaming for rest. They walked out of the FBI building into morning sunshine. The world looked different somehow, brighter, like someone had turned up the contrast. "What now?" Reeves asked. "Now we wait. Holt's moving on Brennan and Salazar today. Once they're in custody, the dominoes start falling." Maya paused. "And I need to do something I should have done years ago." She pulled out her phone and called her mother. The conversation was brief, emotional, and long overdue. Maya explained some of what had happened. Not everything, but enough. Her mother cried and told her she was proud and begged her to be careful. Maya promised she would try. When she hung up, Reeves was watching her with a knowing expression. "Feel better?" "A little. Yeah." They drove back to the base in silence. Maya's phone kept buzzing with news alerts. The warehouse raid was all over social media. 18 women rescued, 4 suspects dead, anonymous heroes. The story was being picked up by national news. By noon, it reached cable news. CNN was running a special report. Fox News was covering it with barely concealed skepticism. MSNBC had legal analysts discussing the implications of vigilante justice. And then at 2 p.m. Pacific time, everything exploded. The Department of Justice held a press conference. Attorney General himself stood at the podium, flanked by FBI Director and Secretary of Homeland Security. Maya watched it on the TV in the base common room, surrounded by other sailors who were just as shocked as she was. Today, federal agents arrested Marcus Brennan, Chief of Staff to Senator Richard Cross, on charges of human trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy. Simultaneously, Mexican authorities arrested Victor Salazar, a known cartel associate, on related charges. These arrests are the result of a multi-year investigation into a criminal network that has exploited dozens of women and operated with impunity for far too long. The Attorney General paused, letting the words sink in. Additionally, we are announcing that Senator Richard Cross is being investigated for his potential involvement in this network. While no charges have been filed yet, we have evidence suggesting Senator Cross was aware of and may have facilitated these crimes. He has been asked to appear before a federal grand jury. The room erupted, sailors shouting, some in disbelief, some in anger. A United States senator accused of human trafficking. It was unprecedented. Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She stepped outside to answer. "Chen, you did this." It was Brandon Cross, calling from custody somehow. "You destroyed my family. You destroyed everything." "No, Lieutenant. You destroyed everything. You and your father and everyone who thought they could buy their way out of consequences. I just made sure the truth came out. My father is a good man. Your father is a criminal, and so are you." Maya's voice was ice. "Those women you helped traffic, they had families. They had dreams. You took that from them because you thought they didn't matter, because you thought you were untouchable. I was following orders I didn't know. You knew, and you did it anyway because the money was good, and you thought you'd never get caught." Maya felt no pity for him. None. "Enjoy prison, Lieutenant. I hear they don't treat traffickers very well inside." She hung up before he could respond. The rest of the day passed in a blur. More news reports, more arrests. The network was collapsing like a house of cards. Every person they arrested led to 3 more. Senator Cross's entire operation was being dismantled piece by piece. By evening, Senator Cross himself held a press conference. He stood with his wife, looking appropriately devastated, and claimed innocence. Said he'd been deceived by his staff. Said he was cooperating fully with investigators. Said he loved his country and would never betray its values. Maya watched him lie with practiced ease and wondered how many people would believe him. Probably too many. But it didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming. The financial records, the photographs, the testimony from rescued victims, the digital forensics from the warehouse servers. Senator Cross could claim innocence all he wanted. The facts didn't care. 3 days later, the grand jury handed down indictments. Senator Richard Cross was charged with conspiracy to commit human trafficking, money laundering, obstruction of justice, and wire fraud. His son Brandon was charged with trafficking, assault on a federal officer, and conspiracy. Marcus Brennan faced similar charges. Victor Salazar, in Mexican custody, was fighting extradition. But Mexican prosecutors were happy to try him themselves. He was looking at life in prison either way. Maya watched the news coverage from her apartment alone with a beer and her thoughts. They'd won. Against impossible odds, against powerful enemies, they'd actually won. The women were safe. The bad guys were in custody. Justice was being served. So why did she feel so empty? Her phone rang. It was Reeves. "Turn on Channel 8 now." Maya switched channels. A local news reporter was standing outside the naval base interviewing someone. Maya's breath caught. It was Maria Gonzalez, healthy, clean, standing with her 3-year-old daughter in her arms. She was crying as she spoke. "I want to thank the people who saved me. I don't know their names. I don't know who they are, but they risked everything to help me, to help all of us. They didn't have to. Nobody made them. They just did it because it was right." The reporter asked, "What would you say to them if they're watching?" Maria looked directly at the camera, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for remembering that I'm a person, that I matter, that my life is worth fighting for. I'll never forget what you did. Never." Maya set down her beer and cried. Really cried for the first time since her father's funeral. She cried for Maria and the other women. She cried for the years she'd spent proving herself. She cried for her father, who died trying to do the right thing. She cried because sometimes, against all odds, good people actually win. Her phone buzzed with a text from Reaper. "Told you we'd survive. Drinks are still on you." Another text, this one from Spider. "Good work, SEAL. Your old man would be proud." And another from Gunner. "The torch doesn't go out. It just changes hands. You're carrying it now." Maya smiled through her tears and texted back simple responses. But Gunner's words stayed with her. The torch doesn't go out. Her father had carried it. Then he'd passed it to her. And someday, she'd pass it to someone else. The cycle continued. Warriors fighting in the shadows, protecting people who'd never know their names, making impossible choices and living with the consequences. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But it was necessary. 2 weeks later, Maya was called to Washington to testify before Congress. The Armed Services Committee was conducting hearings on military accountability and the culture that had enabled Cross and his son to operate unchecked. She sat at a table facing 20 senators' cameras, recording every word, knowing millions of people were watching. She wore her dress blues, her trident gleaming, her face composed. Senator Patricia Morrison, no relation to Jake Morrison, led the questioning. "Petty Officer Chen, can you tell us why you felt it necessary to operate outside official channels in this investigation?" Maya chose her words carefully. "Senator, I tried working through official channels. I filed reports. I followed proper procedures. But when you're investigating someone with connections to the highest levels of government, those channels become compromised. People who should have been helping were instead protecting the criminals. Are you suggesting that government officials were complicit?" "I'm stating as a fact that Senator Cross used his position and influence to protect a human trafficking operation. That's not a suggestion. That's what the evidence shows." Another senator jumped in, older male, clearly hostile. "But you also violated numerous laws yourself. You conducted an armed raid without authorization. You killed 4 people. How is that different from vigilantism?" Maya met his eyes without flinching. "Those 4 people were armed traffickers holding 18 women prisoner. We attempted to extract 1 hostage and discovered the full scope of the operation. The shooting was legally justified self-defense, and if presented with the same situation, I'd make the same choice. Even though it means you broke the law. The law said those women didn't matter enough to save immediately. The law said we should wait, build a better case, follow proper procedure while women were being raped and beaten and sold. I chose to save them instead. If that makes me a criminal, then I'm guilty." The room went silent. Even the hostile senator looked uncomfortable. Senator Morrison leaned forward. "Petty Officer Chen, you graduated first in your BUDS class. You've completed 17 classified missions. Your service record is exemplary. Why risk all of that for this investigation?" Maya thought about her father, about Maria Gonzalez, about the 42 other women whose names she'd memorized. Because someone had to. Because if people like me, People with training and resources and the ability to fight back. If we don't stand up for the vulnerable, then who will? That's a powerful statement. It's the truth, Senator. We can build all the laws and systems we want, but if the people enforcing those systems don't actually care about justice, then the laws are meaningless. Someone has to care. Someone has to be willing to risk everything to do what's right. That's what warriors do. We stand between the darkness and the people who can't defend themselves. Senator Morrison smiled slightly. Thank you, Petty Officer Chen. That will be all. Maya stood saluted and walked out of the hearing room. The testimony would be analyzed and dissected for weeks. Some would call her a hero. Others would call her a dangerous vigilante. She didn't care about either label. She cared that Maria Gonzalez was home with her daughter. She cared that 18 women were getting the help they needed to rebuild their lives. She cared that the network had been destroyed and wouldn't hurt anyone else. That was enough. 6 months later, the trials began. Maya testified again, this time in federal court. Senator Cross sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, looking dignified and wronged. His lawyers were brilliant, attacking every piece of evidence, questioning every witness. But the facts were stubborn things. The money trail was clear. The photographs were damning. The victim testimony was heartbreaking and credible. The jury deliberated for 3 days and came back with guilty verdicts on all counts. Senator Richard Cross was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison. Brandon Cross got 28 years. Marcus Brennan got 40. Victor Salazar, tried in Mexico, was sentenced to life without parole. Maya didn't attend the sentencing. She was busy with her new assignment, instructing at Buds, teaching the next generation of SEALs. Not just combat tactics and survival skills, but the harder lessons. The importance of protecting the vulnerable. The courage required to stand up to authority when authority is wrong. The difference between strength and cruelty. Her students were 50-50 male and female now. Applications from women had tripled since her story became public. She was harder on the female students than the males, pushing them to prove not just that they could keep up, but that they could excel. And they did. 3 women from her first class made it through Hell Week. 1 graduated top of the class. On the anniversary of the warehouse raid, Maya received a package. No return address, just a San Diego postmark. Inside was a photograph. It showed Maria Gonzalez at her daughter's 4th birthday party. Both of them smiling, healthy, happy. On the back was a handwritten note. We're okay, because of you. Thank you for everything. God bless you. Maya put the photograph on her desk next to the one of her father in his dress blues. 2 reminders of why she did this. Why she fought. That evening she met Reeves Webb and Reaper's team at a bar in San Diego. Not the anchor, that place held too many complicated memories. They chose a quiet spot where they could talk without being overheard. To Maria, Reaper said, raising his beer. And to the 18 others, and to everyone who fights in the shadows. They clinked glasses and drank. You think we made a difference? Webb asked. I mean, really. We took down 1 network, but there are dozens of others still operating. We saved 19 lives, Maya said. That's not nothing. That's 19 women who get to go home, who get to rebuild, who get to live. We can't save everyone. But we saved them. That matters. Your dad would agree, Gunnar said quietly. He used to say, you can't change the whole world, but you can change someone's whole world. That's what we did. Maya felt the familiar tightness in her chest that came whenever she thought about her father. But it hurt less now. Time and purpose had dulled the sharpest edges of grief. He also said the torch doesn't go out, she said. So we keep going. We keep fighting. We keep standing between the darkness and the light. That's the job. That's the job, Reeves echoed, even when it cost us everything. They drank in comfortable silence, these warriors who'd risked their careers and lives to do what was right. They'd won, but victory felt quieter than Maya had expected, less triumphant. Just the satisfaction of a job well done, and the knowledge that somewhere 19 women were sleeping safely because of them. It was enough. It had to be enough. Maya finished her beer and stood to leave. She had an early training session tomorrow. Young sailors who thought they knew what it meant to be warriors. She'd teach them, show them, prepare them for the day when they'd face their own impossible choices. As she walked to her car, her phone buzzed one last time. Text from an unknown number. There are more like Maria, more who need help. Will you help them? Maya stared at the message for a long moment. She could ignore it, could focus on her teaching job and live a normal life, could let someone else carry the torch for a while, but that had never been who she was. That had never been an option. She texted back, "Tell me where." Because the fight wasn't over. It was never over. There would always be people who needed saving and too few people willing to save them. There would always be powerful men who thought they were above the law. There would always be victims waiting in the darkness hoping someone would care enough to find them. And Maya Chen would always be one of the people who cared, who fought, who refused to look away when looking away would be easier. She'd made that choice the day she decided to follow her father's path. She'd made it again the night she walked into the Anchor Bar. She'd made it every day since, and she'd keep making it for as long as she had breath in her body and strength in her arms. Because that's what warriors do. They stand, they fight, they protect. Not for glory or recognition or reward, but because someone has to, and they're the ones capable of doing it. The torch doesn't go out. It just changes hands. Maya Chen was carrying it now, and she'd carry it until the day came when she could pass it to someone else. Someone young and brave and willing to risk everything for people they'd never meet. The cycle would continue. Warriors in the shadows, fighting battles no one would ever hear about, saving lives that would never make the news. And that was exactly how it should be. Maya drove home through the San Diego night, the city lights reflecting off the ocean, thinking about tomorrow's training session and the text message that would probably lead to another mission. Another fight, another chance to make a difference. She smiled, her father's daughter through and through. Some people were born to build, others to create, still others to lead or teach or inspire. Maya Chen was born to fight, to stand between evil and innocence, to be the weapon wielded in defense of those who couldn't defend themselves. And she wouldn't have it any other way, not for anything in this world or the next. The torch burned bright in her hands, and she carried it forward into whatever darkness waited ahead, unafraid and utterly committed to the only mission that had ever mattered, protecting those who needed protecting, no matter the cost. That was the promise she'd made, to her father's memory, to Maria Gonzalez and the others, to herself. And Maya Chen always kept her promises.